Take a deep breath right now. You just filled your lungs with a rich mix of oxygen and nitrogen. But if you were standing on the surface of the moon doing that, well, you couldn't. You'd be surrounded by a harsh, suffocating vacuum.
Think about this. Earth and the moon are in the exact same neighborhood of the solar system. They formed around the exact same time. Yet one is this vibrant blue marble wrapped in a protective blanket of gas, and the other is just a barren rock. So why does Earth have this life-sustaining atmosphere while the moon has absolutely nothing? The answer to this massive planetary-scale mystery is actually hiding way down at the microscopic level. By the end of this explainer, you're going to understand exactly how this works. We're going to break down the true physical meanings behind pressure and temperature, reveal the mathematical formulas that govern them, and then apply those exact formulas to finally solve our atmospheric mystery. Okay, let's dive right in.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll outline the atmospheric mystery, explore pressure and temperature at the atomic level, calculate some molecular speeds, look at the speed distribution curve, and finally, solve the mystery itself. Section 1. Pressure, atoms striking walls, zooming into the microscopic world. So, to figure this out, we need to zoom way, way down from the planetary scale into the microscopic world. Now, if you've taken a physics class, you probably know the macroscopic definition of pressure, right? It's simply force divided by area. You push on a wall, you apply a force over a certain area, and boom, that creates pressure. Simple enough. But think about the air inside a balloon, or even just the air pressing against the walls of the room you're sitting in right now. There's no giant, invisible hand pushing on those walls. So where does this microscopic force actually come from?
To picture this, I want you to imagine thousands of microscopic bouncing balls relentlessly striking a rigid wall. This is a brilliant way to illustrate what we call the kinetic theory of gases. See, gas isn't some static jelly. It's actually made of trillions of individual, invisible atoms and molecules in constant, totally chaotic motion. Every single time one of those microscopic molecules slams into the wall of its container and bounces off, it exerts a tiny, tiny outward physical force.
Let's look at the math and see how this builds into something really powerful. Step 1. When a molecule hits that wall and reverses direction, its momentum changes. And from Newton's laws, we know a change in momentum over time equals force. Step 2. Since we have an absolutely enormous number of molecules, we'll just call that n, we multiply that tiny force by n. Step 3. Now these molecules are moving randomly in 3 dimensions, so the total average speed squared is actually 3 times the speed in just the x direction heading toward the wall. When we put all this algebra together in step 4, we arrive at this incredibly important equation. Pressure times volume equals 1/3 n times m times v squared. We have literally just mathematically linked the macroscopic world of pressure and volume to the microscopic mass and speed of individual atoms. Section 2. Temperature, hidden kinetic energy, the molecular interpretation of heat. Now that we have a solid grip on pressure, let's discover the molecular interpretation of heat. Honestly, this right here is one of the most beautiful connections in all of physics. Just follow the steps with me. Step 1. The standard ideal gas law from chemistry tells us that pressure times volume equals N times K times temperature. Step 2. But wait, we just proved that pressure times volume also equals 1/3 N mv squared. Step 3. So let's just set those two equations equal to each other. The ends immediately cancel out, and if we rearrange the numbers just a little bit for step 4, we get a truly groundbreaking result. 1/2 mv squared equals 3/2 kt. Notice what's sitting on the left side of that equation? 1/2 mv squared. That is the exact formula for kinetic energy.
And that brings us to a really crucial point. Temperature is not a physical substance. It's not some invisible fluid flowing into your coffee to make it hot. Thermal energy is simply the average kinetic energy of molecules. Heating up a gas literally just means making its invisible atoms move faster. Remember this, because it's going to crack our atmospheric mystery wide open.
Section 3. Calculating molecular speeds. How fast are they actually moving? Okay, so if heating a room just means the air molecules are moving faster, how fast are they actually moving right now? 511. Now what's mind-blowing is that 511 meters per second is the average root mean square speed of a nitrogen molecule in a room sitting at a completely normal 20 degrees Celsius. Just let that sink in for a second. The invisible nitrogen molecules bouncing off your skin right now are zipping around at over 500 meters per second. Now you might be wondering, and this is a massive point of confusion for a lot of students, if nitrogen molecules are shooting around at these extreme speeds, literally faster than a speeding bullet, why don't we feel a constant, violent hurricane wind blowing us right out of our chairs?
The answer is chaos. Gas molecules are moving randomly in all directions with equal likelihood.
For every single molecule slamming into your left arm at 500 meters per second, there is another one slamming into your right arm, perfectly canceling out the macroscopic movement of the air. You don't feel a wind because the average directional velocity is 0. However, this microscopic speed limit dictates how fast disturbances can travel through the air. That's exactly why the speed of sound at room temperature is roughly 340 meters per second. Sound simply cannot travel faster than the molecules can bump into each other to pass the wave along. Section 4. The speed distribution curve, the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution.
Now let's refine this idea a bit. When I said molecules in a room travel at 511 meters per second, remember, that was an average. In reality, in a massive group of molecules, they're colliding billions of times a second, trading energy back and forth, which creates what we call a Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution curve. Look at the comparison here. In a cold gas, most molecules huddle around a slower average speed. But if you heat that gas up, two things happen. The peak shifts to the right, meaning the average speed increases, but the curve also broadens, creating this long tail of extremely fast molecules that are moving several times faster than the average. Fun fact, this long tail is actually why a person with a fever gets a dry mouth. The higher body temperature shifts their moisture distribution curve, allowing more water molecules to achieve the extreme speed needed to just evaporate right away.
Section 5. Solving the atmospheric mystery. From micro back to macro.
All right, it's time to take everything we've learned about bouncing atoms, kinetic energy, and distribution curves and zoom back out from the micro to the macro. To permanently leave a planetary body, an object must reach what we call escape velocity. And it doesn't matter if you're a giant Apollo rocket or a microscopic molecule of gas. Gravity is gravity. Earth's massive gravity requires a staggering escape velocity of 11.1 kilometers per second. The Moon, being much smaller and having roughly 1/6 the gravity, only requires an escape velocity of 2.38 kilometers per second.
Now wait, this is a very important number, 19,800 Kelvin. Using our temperature to kinetic energy formula from earlier, we can actually calculate that for the average helium atom to naturally reach Earth's immense escape velocity of 11.1 kilometers per second, our atmosphere would need to be 19,800 degrees Kelvin. Obviously, our atmosphere is nowhere near that hot. We're sitting at a comfortable 293 Kelvin.
And here, finally, is where the mystery is solved. Earth's strong gravity keeps our 11.1 kilometer per second escape velocity so incredibly high that even the extreme long tail of the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution for gases like nitrogen and oxygen never reaches it. Our gas is safely trapped. But the Moon? Well, with an incredibly low escape velocity of just 2.38 kilometers per second, the very tip of that distribution tail easily bled past the threshold. Even at normal temperatures, a tiny fraction of gas molecules randomly bumped into each other, gained just enough speed, and vanished into space. Over billions of years, molecule by molecule, the Moon slowly bled its entire atmosphere into the void.
So let's quickly summarize what you should take away from this explainer. First, macroscopic pressure is actually just trillions of microscopic atomic collisions. Second, temperature isn't a physical substance. It's a direct measurement of average kinetic energy, or speed. Third, gas molecules don't move at one single speed. They follow a Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution curve with a long tail of incredibly fast movers. And finally, a planet can only keep an atmosphere if its gravity is strong enough to keep its escape velocity safely above the speed of that atomic distribution tail.
Which leaves us with a fascinating final thought. We know temperature speeds atoms up, and we know heavy atoms move slower than light atoms at the exact same temperature. So, if molecular speed dictates whether an atmosphere survives or not, what kinds of massive, heavy gases might be clinging to the surface of a scorching hot, high-gravity planet like Venus? Think about that for a bit. I highly encourage you to check out our next lecture where we explore the incredibly weird fluid dynamics of other planets. Thanks for joining